You know, what happens when a plan to save a republic goes horribly, tragically wrong? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, the bloody, messy fallout of Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. This isn't just some old play. It's a political thriller where noble ideals crash head-on into brutal reality. And spoiler alert, they don't just clash, they ignite a devastating civil war. So let's explore how it all fell apart.
And really, this is the question that haunts the entire play, isn't it? I mean, you've got a group of honorable senators who assassinate their leader to stop what they see as a rising tyrant. So how on earth did that one single act, an act meant to preserve freedom, end up being the very thing that destroyed it? How did their fight for the Republic lead straight into a civil war and the very empire they were terrified of? That's the tragic puzzle we're going to try and piece together.
Okay, so it all kicks off with the ultimate betrayal. Everything, and I mean everything, hinges on a single moment, the Ides of March. This isn't just a date on the calendar, folks. In the play, it is the absolute point of no return. It's where these noble ideas curdle into a bloody, messy reality, and where Brutus makes a choice he can never, ever take back.
Wow. I mean, talk about hubris, right? The sheer arrogance here is just staggering. We're talking moments, literally moments before his death, and Caesar's refusing a pardon by comparing himself to the Northern Star. Unmoving, invincible, absolute. He has absolutely no clue that he's standing on the edge of a cliff, completely convinced he's basically a god among men.
And then, boom, reality strikes. Hard. With the force of 23 stab wounds. So much for the unmoving star, right? He's just torn from the sky. That constancy he was just boasting about, it gets met with brutal, absolute violence. The irony is just savage. The man who saw himself as a god is brought crashing down in a matter of seconds.
But you know, it's not the 22 other wounds that finally break him. It's that one single cut, the one from his trusted friend, Brutus. His famous last words, "Et tu, Brute?" They just reveal everything, don't they? The deepest wound wasn't physical at all. It was the absolute, devastating shock of seeing the man he loved, the man he trusted, holding a dagger.
So, Caesar's dead. The physical conflict is over. For now. But a new, and you could argue a more dangerous battle is just beginning. This one is for the hearts and minds of the Roman people. And it's not going to be fought with daggers, but with words. The funeral orations are about to become a high-stakes duel for the very soul of the Republic.
Brutus steps up first, and his whole approach is, well, it's very Brutus. He speaks in this calm, rational prose, almost like he's in a Senate debate, not talking to an angry mob. His argument is purely logical. Hey, I killed my best friend, not because I hated him, but because I love my country more. He's appealing to their reason, totally assuming they'll get on board with his noble, patriotic logic.
But then comes Mark Antony. And what we're about to see is an absolute masterclass in the devastating power of rhetoric. Just listen to how he starts. He opens with this brilliant deception, basically pretending to agree with the conspirators. It's genius. That one single move gets the crowd to trust him, and he completely disarms them before he even begins his real attack.
And the contrast between these two speeches, it couldn't be more stark. I mean, think about it. Brutus gave the people logic. Antony gives them pure, raw emotion. Brutus appealed to their minds. Antony goes straight for their hearts. And, let's be honest, their greed. He masterfully twists that phrase, honorable man, over and over again until it's a weapon. He teases them with Caesar's will, and then, the final blow, he shows them the mutilated body. Against that kind of onslaught of grief and rage, poor old reason just never stood a chance.
And just like that, Antony unleashes the dogs of war. The consequences of his speech are immediate, and they are catastrophic. His words literally transform the crowd from citizens into a murderous mob. They erupt in a full-blown riot, setting the city on fire. The conspirators, they're forced to flee for their lives. The civil war has officially begun.
And make no mistake, this was his plan all along. This wasn't some accident. In a really chilling speech he gives over Caesar's body, before he even went out to face the crowd, Antony predicted this exact moment. He promised he would let slip the dogs of war. So the chaos that's tearing Rome apart, it's not a side effect. It's a calculated, brutal, and very personal act of revenge.
So while Rome is burning, the alliance that started the fire, well, the wheels are already coming off.
We see it play out in their camp, this core conflict between the pragmatist, Cassius, and the total idealist, Brutus. Cassius is basically begging him, saying, a friend should bear his friend's infirmities, cut me some slack. But Brutus's rigid, uncompromising honor is just causing these deep fractures in their relationship. It's blinding him to the practical, dirty realities of how you actually win a war.
And this right here? This is perhaps Brutus's most fatal error. Against the very practical, very sound advice of his general, Cassius, Brutus insists they have to march their armies to Philippi, and they have to do it now. He uses this beautiful philosophical metaphor about a tide in the affairs of men to justify, but let's be real, it's a terrible strategic blunder. It's a decision born from pure idealism, not any kind of military sense.
So, as the final battle gets closer and closer, the consequences of what they did become, well, inescapable. The act of assassination literally comes back to haunt them. The ghost of Caesar himself appears, and he's not just a spooky apparition. He represents the immense weight of their guilt and the undying power of Caesar's legacy.
And then Brutus has this moment of just terrible clarity. He finds his co-conspirator Cassius dead, and it all clicks into place. He finally gets it. Caesar, even in death, is the true winner of this war. Caesar's spirit, all the chaos, the guilt, the thirst for revenge that was unleashed when he died, it's still out there, and it's turning their own swords against them.
After that, the end comes so quickly. It's like a tragic domino effect of defeat. First, Cassius kills himself, and it's all based on a mistaken battle report. Just a terrible, tragic error. Then, Caesar's ghost appears to Brutus a second time, a final, chilling omen that it's all over. And at that point, Brutus knows. He realizes Caesar's spirit has won. So, to avoid the shame of being captured and paraded through Rome, he runs on his own sword.
And his final words, wow, they're maybe the most telling in the entire play. Caesar, now be still. I killed not thee with half so good a will. Just let that sink in for a moment. What he's saying is that he's more certain, more resolved in the act of killing himself than he ever was in killing Caesar. It's just a heartbreaking admission of the profound doubt that has been eating him alive from the very beginning.
So after all that, what's the verdict? Was Brutus the noblest Roman? The final judgment on his character, ironically, comes not from a friend, but from his victorious enemy, Mark Antony, standing over his body.
And here's what Antony says. This is the play's final assessment of Brutus. He declares that while all the other conspirators acted out of petty envy and personal grudges, Brutus was different. He was the only one who genuinely, honestly believed he was doing it for the good of Rome. So in Antony's eyes, his motives, even if his actions were disaster, were pure.
Which of course leaves us with the ultimate question. Antony calls him the noblest Roman of them all. But was he? I mean, really, was Brutus a true patriot who was forced to make a terrible, impossible choice? Or was he a fatally naive idealist whose honorable intentions literally paved the road to ruin for the very republic he was trying to save? Shakespeare doesn't give us an easy answer. He leaves it up to us to decide.